What happens when someone passes away and leaves real estate to a loved one? Certainly you need a team of people to help you navigate what could possibly be the trickiest and most emotional thing you've ever had to endure. Some people would go to a real estate agent to sell the house, but I can tell you that most real estate agents, and in fact, many attorneys, don't even know what to do in a situation like this. How would it make you feel if you knew that the person that you were talking to had been through it a time or two? Or maybe, how about somebody that was certified to help? I'm excited to introduce you to Buddy West. He's the author of the book, Targeting the Over 55 Market, and has co-authored the designation SRES, which stands for Senior Real Estate Specialist, which makes him the perfect person to introduce the topic of probate as it pertains to real estate. In this conversation, he walks us through what some of the problems could be if you don't have somebody on your team that is well versed in probate law, and how it can help you tremendously if you do. We also identify trends in age demographics as it pertains to baby boomers, and we break it down into a simple number. Every 15 seconds, a baby boomer passes away, and how most of the families go straight to an auctioneer to liquidate the asset. But what if there was a better way to preserve that wealth? What if you could have an advocate with a fiduciary responsibility to you help you through that time, rather than just somebody who's trying to get to a bottom dollar? We're bringing Buddy in to train our real estate agents here at the Worley Real Estate Network, and we wanted to take some time to share his expertise with you. Buddy has one of the best attitudes of any entrepreneurs that I've ever met, and in addition to that, you're going to love his relentless approach to his day-to-day business life. And in this podcast, he shares many of those stories on how he got some early traction as a new real estate agent and his philosophies that kept him in business and at the top of his game. He's been a broker for over 30 years and has helped thousands of clients buy and sell homes. And he's also created other certification courses to help realtors understand how to best help military families. And this is what you get with Buddy West. There's no half in or half out. It's all in. Here to serve you and help you specialize, because he says the days of general practitioners are over, and now it's time to sharpen the saw. So let's do that together right now. Here's Buddy West. So really glad to have you on here, Buddy, because we've already had a lot of great response from some of the marketing that's gone out. Some of the videos that you've sent us from past real estate agents who have taken your probate class are pretty phenomenal. They seem like they've really enjoyed it. Can you give me and our audience here a little bit of background on you? Let's talk a little bit about your career and how you got started and where your passion for real estate began.
Interestingly enough, and by the way, Jeremy, thank you for having me on this. This is quite an honor.
You bet.
You do a phenomenal job. Here's where I started. It's coming up. My anniversary's coming up. I started Halloween Day, 1984. I went in dressed like a realtor, and I liked the costume. So I've been there ever since. I decided that I didn't want to take the path of regular realtors. I'd been an entrepreneur when I was younger. My second year in college, I opened up a sub shop, Daffy Belly for the Empty Belly.
What a great name.
Delivered to you in a dune buggy. All you have to do is yelly. That was our little slogan. So I got all the fraternities and all that stuff involved. So that was kind of cool.
Feeding college kids is a good business, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, you just, at the end of the night, if you had like 20 rolls left over, you just made subs and went to the dorms and gave them 50 cents off, and you never had an extra roll.
Great.
Then I got into a restaurant and a bar that's involved with the Stone Balloon, which is a nationally famous rock club. Then I did a chimney sweep company. Then I did that was Holy Smoke chimney sweeps. And then I did sun control, solar window tinting business. So all this stuff, I didn't want to work for anybody. I'm a bad employee.
Yeah, you're psychologically unemployable. That's what I say.
I seriously, I would never work. I'd never work if I had a boss.
So did you did all these things before becoming a real estate agent?
Yes. And then I became a real estate agent and decided, and I had a boss. And I decided I want to do it differently. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it unlike anybody else. I don't want to be that guy. It's a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. It's a buyer's market. I didn't care what it was. I wanted it in my mind. It was buyers want to buy houses, sellers want to sell houses. Our company was the largest independent company in Delaware. So I went to every branch. I met the gatekeeper, the person at the front door. I introduced them. Everywhere I went, I bought 2 big Hershey bars. One with almonds, one without. And I introduced myself. I'm a new agent with the company, but I have a question for you before I ask you questions. And they would say, what's that? I said, with or without almonds? And they'd look at you like, well, with, and I give him the hand, and I said, here. And I've used that even in the probate class yesterday. It's called the law of reciprocity. If you do something for somebody, they feel compelled to do something for you. And I said, if I don't know this market area, but if I have a question, could you help me out? And they said, yes, who's your top realtor in the office? Is that person here? I want to introduce myself. I'm going to see if I can follow them around a little bit. I did it with every office, 8 offices. Then I went to every branch of we had a mortgage company, a title company, we had commercial, we had relocation, we had all that. So I went to each one of those branches and met somebody there in case they had questions. And I said to the commercial person, if I find somebody that wants commercial property, can I refer them to you? Then they refer business to me. So that's the way I started, and I got to know people. Then I said, how am I going to make a mark in the real estate industry? I got on a local board. My local board got on a committee. I got on a state board, and I got on a national board. I got on multi-list in my first year nationally. I had to pay my way, but I got to meet national people and state people, and they got to know me. And they knew if I said I was going to do something, if I said I was going to show up, I showed up. That kind of like forged a different kind of a career path for me. I don't know if you remember John Tasillo. He was our chief economist.
Yeah.
You remember that guy?
Yeah.
I always call him Knucklehead, but he and I met, and I was in the midst of writing a book called Targeting the Over 55 Client, because I couldn't find my mother a house, and I thought I was like best realtor in the galaxy. Obviously, I wasn't even close, but I couldn't find her home, and I was frustrated. So I researched it, put the book out with John Tasillo. I asked him if he'd put the economic stuff in it. He and I became friends. It turned into the SRES class. I wrote the SRES class, Senior Real Estate Specialist, with a gentleman in California. He passed from cancer, so I sold it to NAR, which was for
And
me
so
huge.
for people, let me just jump in and say, for people that are listening to this that maybe don't know what this class means or how significant that is. So real estate agents have the ability to get designations, and you might have seen a real estate agent with letters behind their name. Those are real estate agents that have taken time out of their business to sharpen the saw, to go ahead and specialize in whatever it is. Maybe it's working with second home buyers, like in resort markets. Maybe it's just becoming a buyer's agent specialist. I got a GRI designation, which means Graduate Realtor Institute, which is a variety of different classes based on new construction, investments, just overall marketing, things like that. It really helped me. And the reason why I took that class is because the stats came out, they were published. It was agents that had a GRI designation made 30% more than agents that didn't have one. And that was enough for me. And I can tell that you're very education based, because here's an interesting thing I've noticed just in the first 6 minutes of our podcast here. So you started your real estate business. Instead of going for the customer, you went for your colleagues. You went right to your colleagues first, both times, not just to the people in your office, but also in searching for the education that you needed in order to succeed as a real estate agent. So talk to me about that. Why was it important to you to go after your colleagues first?
Well, because I wanted people to refer business to me. And the only way they're going to refer business to me is they get to know me and they get to trust me. So I was getting even my manager, he said, I can't believe it. You just got another referral from like California. How are you doing that? And I said, I don't know. I'm just meeting people in California. And they trusted me. If somebody says, do you know anybody who wants to buy? They said, we're moving to Delaware. I'm licensed in 3 states, Delaware, Maryland, and Pennsylvania, because they're right next to each other. And so given that, then I get referrals from those people, and I'll send referrals back. And I built it. And I went from my GRI to a CRS. And CRS is Certified Residential Specialist. And if you look at the circle, right? The course that I've just written and I'm teaching on probate, I licensed it to the CRS people, but I'm the only one who gets to teach it. So they market it and then they get a royalty on it, but they're booking me. And that got me into a position where when I walked out of my house, I would say, is it a buyer's market? Is it a seller's market? Which hat do I have to wear? And I decided that I don't want to play that game, because that really puts it stops you from expanding your business. So I decided I'll create my own market. And that's where I did the SRES. Then after that, I knew that the military only probably 2% understand how to work with military clients. a lot of nuances, understanding all the verbiage and building trust. And if you haven't served, how do you get a military? So I wrote the military residential specialist class, which I still own, and it's active. And that created a military. So when I'm in my market, I'm known, and believe me, I'm not the expert in seniors and I'm not the expert in military, but everybody in the market and half the people around the country think I'm the number one expert in there. So if they want to think that, that's a reality. That's a perception, but it's a reality. So there's military always comes to me. And then recently my friend G. Dunson and I spent 2.5 years researching probate. And it's the most lucrative thing I have ever been involved in, apparently. And it's not because of me, it's because of the subject matter. It's the number one class in America for real estate mortgages. I'm getting drawn into title companies because essentially it's the largest market, and less than 1/10 of 1% of the realtors understand it. Auctioneers were getting most of the business. They charge 40 to 60%. They're getting a boatload of money for it, and we can help them and save these people tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I want to jump into the probate and I want to take a deep dive into that. Before I do, I want to just explore you a little bit more. And one of the things that you said was, or one of the things I've also noticed based on your conversation is that you got involved in this politics of the real estate boards. You put yourself in on committees and things like that. How did that help your business right out of the gate? Because I know a lot of real estate agents, and including me in the beginning. I served on the board of directors for 3 years in my local board, and it was the most eye-opening experience. And I realized just how powerful those boards can be. So to a real estate agent that doesn't have a real strong desire to get on those boards, help us understand why it's so important to your business.
Well, it's important to your business for two reasons. It's important to your business because you can elevate your business by meeting all these people, right? They get to know you. They get to know your work ethic. They get to know that you're honest. They get to know you're ethical. But more importantly, I think because you owe it to them. This is your industry. If you're on the inside, you can help shape it. If you're on the outside, all you're doing is complaining about it.
Right.
So like today, for instance, last week they came out with all the new rules about buyers and the department.
The new NAR rules that started August 17th regarding commissions and buyers agents and that sort of thing. Yes.
Which is, you don't like to say it's BS, but it's pretty much BS. But right now I did a probate course and I'm sitting in my hotel room at the Gaylord Texan. I was down there at a breakfast today and the agents are just complaining. Oh my God, this is going to be horrible. Look what we have to do. And somebody said that one of the president of the Texas Association said, buddy, you were just here doing a class. What would you say to these people? And I wasn't even supposed to say anything. And I said, well, I don't want to take up any time. So I'll just do it in one sentence. Instead of complaining about the storm, learn to dance in the rain. That's all I had to say. That, otherwise the basket's going to get shaken. And a lot of realtors are going to fall out. Just like every industry, no matter what kind of entrepreneur you are in whatever industry, things change. If you're not willing to change, you have to look at Ted Turner's desk. He had a sign on it, which I copied. I put it on my sign in my brokerage. I own a little brokerage. It says lead, follow, or get the hell out of the way.
Right.
And that's the way I live my life. I'll help you and I'll nurture you. But if you're going to be that Debbie Downer, you're not going to be with me.
That's awesome. I love that. And I think that's why we're becoming fast friends, is because I did the same thing in 2008. So and I got my license in 2006 in December. So I had 18 months of a really great market before all of a sudden everything crashed. I just learned how to do all the paperwork, how to do everything, and the market crashed. And I had one kid on the ground and one on the way. Had lost my part-time job. My wife had lost her part-time job. I got up and I just kept going to work every day. Just kept going to work every day. My wife looked at me and she's like, why don't you go get a job? And I said, I refuse to believe that the sky is falling. I said, there's an ocean of money out there. Real estate is a need that people have. There's babies being born every day. People pass away every day. People get divorced. There's a real need for a strong real estate professional in every market. And I'm going to be that professional in this market. In fact, I'm in a second home destination. So nobody was buying first homes, and here I was trying to sell second homes. And I figured it out. This was before Airbnb existed, and I figured out the short-term rental business model. And I just started teaching anybody that would learn. And I think that's another reason why I like you, buddy, is because I can tell you're a giver, because when you figure something out, you don't keep it to yourself and make as much money as you can. You create a course and you shared it with as many realtors as you possibly could. So help me understand your mindset there. What inside you causes you to share knowledge like that?
Well, there are two things I want to bring. I don't know if you ever heard of Star Power, Howard Britton
Oh,
Star Power.
yes. Absolutely.
Well, Howard was my mentor. I ended up running his business for 2 years out in Boulder. I was 2 weeks in Boulder, 2 weeks in Delaware. But I had written a book, and you know, when I'm saying this, I'm not bragging, but I'm saying I did it because he taught us when a lesson needs to be learned, a teacher will appear.
Yep.
Uh, I had a radio program on CBS Radio called Real Estate Talk in my local area, which got me business because everybody knew my voice, and if they heard me in the supermarket, they, I heard your show.
Yeah.
I wrote a column for Gannett called The Right Direction in real estate. Now, I couldn't say all the stuff about me being a realtor because this was editorial and that would have made it advertorial. So what I
Gotcha.
did, I made the deal with the paper, say, look, I'll do a column every week for free. All right. But I'm going to buy an ad next to it for a discounted price that goes right next to it. And the name of the column was The Right Direction, which happened to be the name of my team. And I ended every column in, because like, should you get a home inspection, like for instance, and I say, yes, you should, because that's the right direction. So every column I wrote had the right direction. The ad next to it said the right direction is west, Betsy and Buddy West. So you see how I tied it
Love
together?
it. Yeah. You're really
So
good at that. I
when
can tell. Where do you get your knack for the verbiage on marketing?
my friends say it's a drug flashback from the 60s, that's not true. But he said, I don't know how your brain works. But I think that I got a lot from Howard Britton, and I got a lot from a good friend of mine, Bill Stevenson, who actually he's a pretty famous guy. As a matter of fact, he was married to Jill Biden for the first 6 years.
Okay, wow.
So and then that broke up. But he always thought out of the box. And he had a nightclub, and like this, remember when the sky was falling, the Skylab was going to fall to the earth?
Yes.
He had a Skylab party, and in his bar he had 900 people. When some soap opera, Luke and somebody got married on a soap opera.
Uh-huh.
So he threw a reception with a cake, and we all everybody. He was brilliant. So I always think outside of the box. I don't want to do what people are doing. I was the first one in my area to have a moving truck, and it said on the side, buyers sell a house for me, use this truck to move for free. But then I gave it and advertisements on the side. I sold them on the bottom. It paid for the truck twice over for
Wow.
every, and I donated that money to the Special Olympics, which was it was just a cause I was involved in, and I
Hmm.
let them use it for all their events. Once they parked it everywhere, that got you business. Think of how you can do zero-based marketing, and think how you can get people to recognize you for things that you do. And I'm a director of the Special Olympics, so it's not like I just put my name on it. I show up at the
Yeah.
events. So if the key to success in real estate or any business around came from my old boss, Jack Giles. I said, I want to be successful in real estate. What do I need to do? And he told me two things. He said, you have to focus on this. There's an ass for every seat. Don't try to pick out what somebody likes. You're not buying it. You go with there. And he goes, get up, dress up, and show up. That's it. That's
So
it.
how do you deal with a campaign that you launch that doesn't get the results that you want? Have
I,
you have you had that happen?
oh, many times, many
Yeah.
times. I back up, I punt, and then I figure out what went wrong. Now, fortunately, I don't know if this is fortunately or not fortunately, but my oldest son is in the marketing business. He's a president of ICS Corporation, which does junk mail, all that crap that you just want to throw away,
Yeah.
right? But they only take clients that do 1 million pieces a day, and he's got 40 clients. So now, if I have something that's going to go out like for probate, he says, send it up to me and we'll test it. They test it on zip codes to realtors, and then they come back and they say, these are the words that you need to change on that, and then we'll send it out a second time and see if so I don't have to do it anymore. Find great people. Ronald Reagan, that's what he did. He found great people to work around him. He wasn't the sharpest tool in the shed, but he had the sharpest tools working. So I get him to do that. My other son is in finance in New York, and he hooked me up with the advertising firm that did that stupid commercial with the pig hanging out the window going wee. And I got to speak to him, and what he told me that he said, everything you do do under this thing. He goes, there's a problem, there's a solution, and there's a celebration. Every ad you see, every TV ad, every radio, print ad, problem. And I always give the example, bad breath, that's the problem, right? The solution is mouthwash. The celebration is a kiss. Well, how about let's take it to real estate. Real estate, what's the problem? The problem is I got to buy a house. What's the solution? It happens to be me. What's the celebration? They just walking away from the closing. So anything you do and you put in those three simple words and you really believe in it, you'll get through. But the other thing is believe in yourself, man. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's happened to me that, you know, like triple bypass surgery, and I was supposed to take a year off. 2 months later, I'm on a plane, I'm speaking somewhere. I listen to my body, not to my doctor much. That's what he tells me anyway. I don't listen to him. But the point is that I don't brag about it. Oh, guess what? I had triple bypass surgery. The reason I had that is because I put myself in a position to have that. So it's not what happens to you. It's what you do after it happens to you. And never really make a big deal, because if you're in front of a crowd or you're with a client or something, they might be going through something much worse.
It's true. So what else do you do to overcome adversity when you're met with big challenges like that?
Well, I don't know. I have faith that the man upstairs is going to look out for me. A lot of people say that I'm a cat. I'm an ugly cat, they tell me, but I'm a cat and I've got 9 lives. They say you have 4 left. I just, you keep, yesterday when I was doing a class on people, I said, here's what you have to understand. And just on probate. Probate's not for everybody. So I like it when somebody comes up and says, well, thank you for the class. It was a wonderful class, but you taught me that I don't want to do probate. I feel good about that because they're not going to get in trash with their clients. And it's hard for a lot of instructors or trainers or something to hear, well, you taught me I don't want to do probate, but I think it's a beautiful thing. Pick your lane. And if you go for it, you stay in your lane, you're not working. I could retire now, but boy, I have a good time with people.
Yeah, absolutely. It seems like life is not about all the things you say yes to, but the things you also say no to and do something really well, you know, for a while and become an expert at it, which is why I was really attracted to your class and wanted to bring you to our local area, to our local agents, just because, you know, I found that niche specialization in the short-term rental business was the one thing that launched my career. And I mean, I've always been able to recognize trends, recognize patterns, and we can see that the baby boomers are, you know, when I was growing up, nobody talked about millennials because they didn't exist yet, you know, but everybody's talking about the baby boomers, you know, and how, like, if you understood demographics, like I used to follow a guy named Harry Dent that you might have heard about. So, you know, Harry, he didn't always nail it, you know, he didn't always nail his predictions, but he helped keep Harley Davidson in business, you know, because he knew that all these baby boomers were about to have midlife crises, right? There's a lot of motorcycles getting ready to be bought here. So, you know, he could actually, you know, help advise grocery stores down to how many potato chips that people would eat because these baby boomers were having a bunch of teenagers at the time, you know, and so people don't talk about the baby boomers anymore. They talk about the millennials, but the baby boomers are still a huge driver of the economy. If you go to the US population website, you can see 2 big bubbles. You can see the baby boomer bubble and the millennial bubble, which is a little bit bigger. I think it's time for us to pay attention to the baby boomers a little bit because we're talking about a massive transfer of wealth. And is it you that calls it the silver tsunami?
Yes, and here's the deal with baby boom. Glad you brought that up. Being a baby boomer, I always point out in the class as I have them stand up. These are the baby boomers, and I say to the baby boomers, ladies, gentlemen, don't buy the green bananas. Every 15.9 seconds, a boomer dies. You know, it's a shame. I'm a boomer. I can say the same thing. So I buy the right bananas.
Right.
So the second part of that is you're talking about the transfer of wealth. If you want to be good in real estate, insurance, in mortgages or something, how about studying what's going on? You're brilliant with this, coming up with the trends, because basically when you think of it, $90 trillion is going to change hands in the next several years. In real estate, it's going to be, now there's 1.6 trillion in probate. In 3 years, there's going to be 3.5. And people say, well, what does that mean? And that means 50 million houses are coming on the market. Look at all the people, plumbers, electricians, all these people are going to have work because a lot of the houses are older, need to be redone. Get in a position so that you're the one they call. Now, when G. Dunson said, let's do do a course on probate. I think it's gonna be hot." And I said, "Probate, what is that? That's like a expensive fish for or expensive bait for fishing or something? What do I care about probate until
Yeah.
I heard those numbers?" And then he told me this. He said, "Here's the deal. Less than 1/10 of 1% of the realtors even understand how to use it, and auctioneers are getting all the business at 40, 50% of the asset." So I jumped on board, and our goal was to get 500 people to go through probate last year, right? We got
Hmm.
1,870.
Wow.
Our goal this year was to get 2,500, and we've got 4,000 this year. So
Wow. Fantastic.
it's still early adapters. In Texas, the third largest state for realtors, this is the first class that was done in Texas. And the people said that we need to have 3, 4, or 5 more in here because there's so many realtors. And I said, that's fine. So anybody in your area that wants to understand how to get into this market, you'll be the only one. Early adapters win.
Yep.
First come, first serve.
They do. So let's get into the probate a little bit. So you're with G. Dunstan, you're looking into this probate. So tell me some of the major ahas that you had as you began to learn this probate, and how can realtors really take advantage or, take market share from auctioneers?
Oh, it's relatively simple. We break the course down into 5 segments. And I always go into probate's pretty boring. Okay. I'll be quite honest.
Yeah.
I have to try to make it fun and exciting. So we spend a lot of time trying to do that. And we do it in sections. The first section is like, and I compare it to building a house. In my area in Delaware, Maryland, we have basements. So when my wife and I build a house, I said, "Come on, they're doing a foundation." And she said, "Well, you go ahead." No, I said, this is the most important part of the house, the foundation." They put boots on us. My wife's about halfway through and she says, "Listen, I'm going back. I trust you'll get it right. Bring me back when they're putting the kitchen in." I said, "Okay." The boring part is the first part of the class. It's about an hour because I want them to understand what is probate. I ask them the questions and they don't even know what probate is. They'll say like, "Oh, it's getting a will done." It's like I wasn't that. And then trusts. What's a trust? Then I have everybody stand up. Who has a will? And you find these other people have wills. They don't have wills. I said, "Well, you need to get a will, and you'll know why." By lunchtime, everybody's saying, "Where do we go to get a will?" Then the trust. So we build that, and then we say, "Who's involved in probate?" And that's what really throws them off because, like, when I get out to your area, I'm going to go to the court and I want to see who the court administrator is. And when I go to class, I can ask them if the court, if they're open for that. Sometimes since COVID it's sometimes in out, but I'll find out on the phone. So what court is it in? And they don't know. They're going to know now who's involved, the court administrator, the judge. Anything has to do with probate is done in a court. The court determines everything. Court determines if the personal representative or executor can be that person because the judge is going to say, "Well, you're incompetent. I can't let you be it. Let's find somebody else." And so we go through that whole process to let them know. So they're the only ones. And then I give them 10 questions during the class. And the questions are designed that I stole this from David Knox. He's a national speaker. And I always say, if you steal one thing from somebody, it's plagiarism. But if you steal more than one, it's research. So David Knox had this thing in the SRES class saying, you need to have 10 questions that if the seller is going to ask or get other agents involved, that the seller will ask those agents and they won't have the answers. So it leads it back to you. So I do that in the class. And by the time it's question 8, the other agent that's sitting there is like, they got a headache. They're rolling on the floor. They're crying. They have no idea what this is going on because they don't know probate. Then we get into how do you find the personal representative? How do you establish a relationship? Now, I went to lawyers have CLEs. That's their continuing ed. So I took the lawyers probate CLE. And I
Oh,
left
wow.
there. I left there and I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me? Everything was based on law. Nothing was based on relationship.
Wow.
So we spend a good deal of time talking about creating relationships. And once you create the relationship, then you get involved in it and you're guiding them, you're navigating them through the whole process, which can be complicated. But then I have to break it down to, I do the course nationally, but we'll have an attorney come locally if we can find one that wants to speak. If not, I do research about what's going on in your local area. So if you have a probate attorney, I'll jump right on him and we'll have a discussion about it.
Yeah, we're going to invite one to come to the class.
Yeah,
And
and
then
have
you said the court administrator was another person you'd like to be there?
not to be there, but I'm going to have them go to the court. If you want to see, like every attorney's a probate attorney, which is crap. If they're slow, they'll take on anything.
Yeah,
But that doesn't mean they're the attorney you want. You
right.
know, you were talking about Harley Davidson and how the niche was. How do they find these people? Well,
Hmm.
one of the biggest dollar amounts because of Harley Davidson and baby boomers was orthopedic surgeons. There was such a
Mm.
rise and broken ankles and all with that, with which we're saying, well, what do you have to do here? You have to assemble a probate team, right? I have a probate division, right? And then I have a probate services division, which has all my little people under it. All that is I created it. I have it. So when we have a different form, they pull down for that. And it leads you to the fact that you're the expert. And if anybody else wants to come up against you, they have to answer the questions and they can't.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense because we would have people that would come into our area and they would try to treat us like any other regular real estate agent when they would try to find an investment property. Speaking of boring, sit there. I've been teaching real estate investing for past 2 decades. And, we're talking about cap rates and cash on cash return and math, percentages. I mean, nobody's excited about any of that until that you can teach them how to help an investor who's about to say no to an investment property understand that they're actually going to be in double digit returns if you can teach them the tax benefits of owning real estate and why the wealthy have tax shelters and how so many of us don't participate in real estate investing because education is the barrier of entry to most new things that can ultimately change our lives in the biggest possible way. And for me and the people that have followed me, it's been real estate investing. And it's not easy to keep those things super exciting, but we do our best. And like I could totally see a kindred spirit in you. I just love the way, I mean, just in the few phone calls that we've had, I know you're going to be dynamic on stage.
You
I already
know,
know you're going to be great. I can't wait.
well, on the investment end of it, I took I had no desire to be a CCIM, which is it's like the
Certified
double.
commercial investment member. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I did was I took two of the classes. I took the one on in comparing investment properties and I took the one on taxation. And I was the only agent in my office that understood. They come to me because the one form that I wanted to understand, that I talked about it in probate, is financial management rate of return. So you can compare investment properties. You can put it in front of their face and say, here's this. Now, how does that work in probate? These people, they don't know what the hell they're doing. A personal representative's never done that. It's just like they feel obligated to do it to mom's house, dad's house,
Exactly.
step
And there's
in.
probably all this emotion involved too, and they're
Oh,
not maybe even thinking straight.
they don't have a chance to mourn because the family, I call them grabosauruses. They come in, they just want to grab whatever they can and leave.
Right.
The personal representative is holding the bag, but I say to the agents, why don't you talk to the personal representative, sit down and say, I know you want to dispose of the house, but let me tell you what's going on. Like I have a little place in Naples, Florida. If I put that on the market right now, I'd get X amount of dollars. But if I waited 2 months, I would probably make another $30,000. So if you could talk to PR into keeping it for 2 years, they could tell their siblings, look, this is how much money we're getting. How would you like to have a 25, 30% return on the dollar? Now the agent it's the cream. He's rising to the top as being, this is the person I want to use because they're giving me options.
Right.
Other agents
That's
are
how
saying,
you create
yeah,
raving fans. Absolutely. I mean,
exactly.
I've always said to myself I would sell more real estate if I would just keep my mouth shut, but I can't because I have to educate. And it's okay for me to lose the sale today because
Right.
I'm still going to need to eat 2 years from now. And I don't think a lot of real estate agents get that. I mean, the good ones do. The good ones know that it's based on service and servant leadership, and that's how you create raving fans. So I'm really glad to hear that as well because what we do, I can't wait to have my team completely trained in probate because I just know that we're going to be in situations here very, very soon. We've already been. I mean, I've got one agent that's had a lot of deaths in her family, so she's the one that we kind of go to for questions. But like you said, there's so much going on, and you've got to have that power team. And if you can be the person that is an emotional rock for those people, the person that's just helping them check the boxes and get the things done that they need to get done and giving them great advice like a true fiduciary. That's the thing that the auctioneers are not doing because they don't have that fiduciary relationship like we do as real estate agents.
I like the way you're thinking. I did this. after the two certifications that I wrote, I noticed that, well, they get the certification and that would be the end of it. I get the pin or I get this or that. I've got the book and look, I'm an SRES, they put it in their car, but they do nothing with it. And the same thing happened with MilRes, or still happening. So with this one, I said, I'm not going to let this happen. I have a friend out in California. It's just amazing with computers and marketing and all. And I got with my guy up in New York, on Madison Avenue, my son hooked me up with, and I paid him to give me some ideas. He charged me like it would be $100,000 to do something like that, but he did it for like $5,000 because he and Braden play tennis and they go to ball games and all, whatever. So I put together a program. The program cost me so far $8,500 to create. And I said, I want to offer it to people that take probate, but I don't want it to be too expensive. I'll get the $8,500 back slowly. So I have an announcement kit that's $149, but I said, I'm just going to charge $99. And the reason is because when they take the class, I'm afraid they're just going to put the book on the thing.
Right.
Does everything. It puts it on all their social media. It has press releases. It has postcards. It has everything all done. All you got to do is put your name in it. All right. And I said, there, you paid $99. You're done. Then we created another program that will give you a monthly, and they're putting together the monthly things on it. I don't do any of that stuff. So out of the $99, I make $30. I don't care. I got somebody doing it for me and they're helping the program. So on the other one, it's we're doing 148, gets you both of them, and 1 month worth of the add-on. But then you get $99 a month. And if you want to go forward and get it, get it. If you don't, I don't care. But you can tell the people that I'm not looking for people to get involved in probate. I'm looking for people that are going to be committed to probate, know where to find them, know how to service them. I give marketing ideas. You have to have marketing ideas, but you don't want to just walk out the thing and say, man, that was a good class. I really liked it. I want people to have a probate in the next 30 to 60 days because people are dying that quickly.
Buddy, can you walk us through a scenario? So, like, just give me a scenario where I'm a real estate agent and somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, my parents just passed away. I've got this house. Walk us through that a little bit so that we can really get the word out to real estate agents or to really anybody who's listening who will inherit a home someday. Whether they're a real estate agent or not, they're going to listen to this and they're going to say, these are the questions I need to ask my real estate agent, right? To make sure that they're good. So walk us through a scenario where one person who's not prepared goes this direction and one person who is prepared goes a better direction.
Okay, that's excellent. Thank you. I think I break realtors up into two categories, ordinary and extraordinary. So if you're talking about ordinary realtor that's not trained in it, because I agree with what you said, niches are riches. This bit about being a general practitioner in real estate is going away very, very quickly.
It is.
You want to work with somebody that really understands. So if that occurred and you weren't trained, not as necessarily a certified probate specialist, but you weren't trained in it, because yesterday I had people that said, one lady said, I've done 75 probates in the last like 5 years. I said, that's great. And she said, no, it's not great, because tomorrow when I do one, I'll finally do them right.
Wow. Wow.
And she sent me a testimonial on that. It wasn't me. It's the information that she didn't know that she didn't know. It's kind of like if you're in tech, my worst thing is technology, calling somebody because they have a problem with my computer, but I don't know what question to ask. So they will, and it's frustrating. That's what happens. They come in as if they're going to sell the house. A realtor, we're programmed. If a seller wants to sell the house. If a buyer wants to buy, sell them the house, right? It doesn't work that way in probate. You don't get to sell the house until the judge tells you to sell the house. So you have to do the preliminary information, the inventory and all this stuff and set it up. And the scenario with the person that's not trained, they'll put the house on the market.
Before the judge says yes.
Yeah, before they have letters testamentary or letters of administration from the judge.
Wow.
And they're violating Article 11 of our Code of Ethics, which says if you're not competent in the field you're practicing, you're obligated to refer it out. So they're just doing it because they think they're doing the right thing, but they can get fined the judge will fine them big time. Then they can get, it's an ethical violation.
You know,
Like,
that happened in 2008 a lot, buddy, with the short sales and things like
oh
that.
my
People
God,
were putting, there's nothing short about a short sale, right?
you
But
know, kidding.
people were putting these properties on the market, trying to get offers so that they could go talk to the bank then. But that's wasn't the way. So there was so many deals that just fell apart, and the emotion that happens, in those deals. That's when the wheels fall off the wagon, when the emotional centrifugal force starts going. Can you imagine in a scenario where a loved one has just passed away, and you're
Right.
trying to liquidate a house, and you have an untrained real estate agent? Can you imagine the problems that would cause for that family?
Oh, they're astronomical. When you're talking about the short sales, they came out with CDPE, my friend Tony Martinez, and I took the course, and I said to myself, I don't want to do short sales.
You're right.
Finished it. So I hired a person to work at my little company and said, I need you to do short sales. Let's send you this place so I could refer them all to that person. So I didn't have to do them, which people should do. If you don't understand it, don't do it. But in probate, if you're certified and you understand this probate process, then you try to meet with the personal representative and you ask, do you have your letters of administration? This is really complicated to get through, and I'll help you navigate through the process. But what are the challenges you face so far? And they're going to say, I don't know what I'm doing, or something or my siblings are fighting me. I say, okay, sit down. Let's put it all down. Let's see what we can have. Do you have an attorney following through? No, because the attorney seems to not know anything about probate. I say, okay, well, we can take care of all that. But all I'm doing is listening. I'm being a consultant at that particular point. And I'm not trying to get the listing. I'm trying to get her to understand. But I have little trifolds and stuff that I've created that said, how to save tens of $1,000s during the probate process. Because if they give it to an auctioneer, they give it to the wrong person, they're going to lose that money. If
Wow.
you if you get stuff like that done, then you're the pro way ahead of anybody else. And basically, I'm fortunate because I wrote the course. So anytime something comes up in the marketplace probate, I'll go out on the first one and I'll say, here, here's the stuff. And, they say, well, how did you go to school for this? I said, no, I wrote the course though. And so that puts me that gives you a leg up anyway.
What
But you
what
have,
what else? I'm sorry. What else does a real estate agent do that's certified in probate that somebody wouldn't do during the course of this? Like, what does a win look like for a family and a real estate agent that has gone through your course?
well, number one, it helps them save money. They're going to get more profit because oftentimes the siblings, if you've ever been around a family where somebody's died, everybody wants the most and they fight and scrap over everything. So what it does, it allows, and they always call the attorney. Now the attorney is getting paid a flat fee to
Right.
work with the personal representative. That's the way it works, right? The siblings jump in, that's a separate fee. Every 8 minutes, you hear a beep, beep. So I get in, the certified specialist is going to get in, he's going to say, look, let's get them on the phone. And to get them on the phone, I say, I understand you think that she's doing something wrong or whatever. So here's what we need to do. You're calling the attorney. And every time you call the attorney, you're eating up your own equity. That doesn't make sense. Now they listen because now they're thinking, eating up my equity. What are you talking about? Lawyer doesn't work for you. Lawyer works for the personal representative and they get a percentage of the estate. If you start calling, it's going to erode what you're going to get in the bottom line.
Mm.
So if you have an issue, let me be the liaison, right? The ombudsman between the two. You have an issue, let me give it to me. I'll work it out with them and then we'll get it to the attorney and then you save your equity. Because I don't
That's
think there's anybody cheating, but that all of a sudden I become a person of value to the whole family.
And now
So,
you're going to get business from them, just regular business, right?
well,
Because
I
here you
always
are,
say, throw the stone in the pond. When you throw the
right?
stone in the pond, it ripples out. If I helped you with your mother's estate get through, there's a damn good chance that you're going to refer me to a lot of people.
Yeah, people asked us like, "Hey, why don't you guys just specialize in short-term rentals?" And I said, "I don't want to because that prevents me from being able to help a family that I've helped grow their portfolio And when they have their daughter that wants to buy their first home, it would be an honor for me or my team to be able to represent them and you. That's how we build a business. That's how we form relationships. And so that's how we get multiplication in our business. It's by specializing because then everybody else has to, I mean, everybody needs to buy and sell homes, right? These life events,
I love that.
these life events, they simply give us another opportunity to prove how powerful we can be if we study and show up as a real advocate.
Well, it's much like you own a company. So like my doctor, Dr. King's a general practitioner. I go to him for everything. But then he farms me out to an expert for something that I have to have done expertly. So you'll farm it out to somebody that's going to do this, somebody that specializes in first-time home buyers. So that way you can say that I'm a full service, realtor, just because I'm a probate specialist and a military specialist, I do that. I do other stuff, but I'm known these are the markets that I chose so that I could control my destiny in this. And that allowed me to get into the speaking business 25, 30 years ago, whatever. And so then I started building credibility around the country as a speaker. And then before I leave, I said, so let me ask you one question before I leave. Can you think of any reason you wouldn't refer your clients to me if they were buying or selling in Delaware, Maryland, or Pennsylvania? And I shut up, which is hard for realtors to do. And when I do, I shut up. And then I say, anybody. And then I said, okay, here's the question I have for you. Why? And then I shut up. And they say, because you took the time to move me forward. And I think that people understand, like I get a bio, I write everything. I think you got it. You got all this stuff.
We do.
Before you hired me, and it was, realtor of the year, all that crap and all these designations, all this and that. It doesn't mean anything. I got to the point in my career where I said, okay, I already did that. Now I want to spend my career giving back. So when I showed up yesterday, they had the bio. Here's your bio. This is what I'm going to read. And I look, it's like 5 pages or something like that. And I said, may I make a change or two? They see, and I'm looking her right in the eyes and I'm ripping it up. And she said, what are you doing? I said, I have a bio, and I reach in my pocket, in my suit pocket, and I hand her a little index card. And it said, from Wilmington, Delaware, please welcome Buddy West. He still sells real estate. That means a lot more than all the crap that I've done in the past. What it means is I'm just like those people sitting in the seats. If they want to know anything about me, they can ask or they can find out. They're on their own. But I don't want to stay at the front of the class and brag, oh, isn't he doing this? He's the best realtor in the galaxy. He's done all this. No, because the people, they don't care about that. They care about, what am I going to walk through that back door? And when's the first time I'm going to get a probate class? Or how can I elevate my personal business? And if more speakers did that, they would have a bigger following. I don't tell people what to do. I tell people what I'm doing and what friends like me are doing. Like Howard Britton, that thing, the Star Power. If you were a Star Power star, you had to sign a paper saying you'll give away everything to anybody that asks for it.
Wow.
He worked out of abundance, not scarcity. So if I built some kind of a marketing program, I get it. I give it to somebody else. That's the way you make the industry better. Not just yourself, but you're bringing other people along. And so my main focus, I've got a team, 2 people on my personal team, but then I have 8 other agents. I won't go over 10. I don't want to run an adult daycare. Each
Yeah.
one of them has to do $5 million a year. They got a year and a half to get up to that speed. Minimum 5 million, you got to go away.
Wow, you have a standard for them.
Big standard.
That's great. So how do you tell the people that don't meet the standard that they have to move on? How do you have that conversation with them?
Well, I said you've had plenty of time. You probably need to go to another company that's gonna tolerate, your lack of motivation. And
Gotcha.
I'm honest with people, but
Yeah.
during the first period, I show them how to do 5 million or 10 million. I show them what it takes to do this. When I walked into my office in Halloween, I know the difference between a listing and a sale. I knew fundamentally, but I knew that if you did so much real estate in a year, you won a trip to Acapulco. So when my manager came in and said, what's your goal? And I said, I want to go to Acapulco. And he laughed at me. He says, your first year in the business, come on. And I said, well, what's it take to go to Acapulco? He said, this is back in the 80s. He said, it takes like $1.4 million. I said, okay, put me down for $1.5 million.
And this is when houses were selling for like 9, 10 grand in Missouri. What were they selling for in Delaware back then?
35, 40,000.
35. Yeah. So getting $1 million when you're selling, when your unit price is 35,000, that's saying something.
So he said, look, I'm gonna put you down. I said 2 million. He said, I'm gonna put you down for $1 million. Well, right away, he burst my bubble. Never burst.
Exactly.
So I went out and I said to the top agent in our office, this guy, Jack, how many listings do you have to sell to win the trip? And he said, well, this is your first year. You ought to focus on buyers. You're going to get more buyers than listings. So how many? And he told me. Then I did open houses every day of the week, because if you put an open house on, as long as the place had a phone in it, because it was before we had I would do it because I could sit there and do calls and everything. I did other people's open houses. I would put a sign in. If they came on a Wednesday afternoon, they were serious about a house. So I did that. I worked, you name it. I ended up doing 2 million by July.
Wow.
Right?
By July.
July. I did 46 houses my first year. And then I hung around the water cooler and did 24 the second year. And my boss brought me in and he goes, stay away from the water cooler. You're smarter than that. I'm listening to the negativity. So from that point forward, I just said, I set my goal and I reached my goal. You've got a goal. You reach your goal.
I love it.
I help people. If they don't have a goal, they don't want to get to their goal, they don't need to be with me because they're going to bring me down because I feel like a failure.
Yeah. 2 years ago, we had an inventory issue, right? So all of a sudden there was a problem. This was just after COVID, like maybe 2021, and there was an issue with people not wanting to put their homes on the market, right? So there was no inventory. And all these top producing real estate agents were walking around my office, people who I had trained, moaning, whining, complaining that there was no inventory. And I was like, okay, so this has got to change. So what I did is I went to the next sales meeting and I said, I don't want to hear a single person walking around saying there's no inventory out there. I said, you guys can find the inventory. So what we're going to do is we're going to dig deep. Just because it's not listed doesn't mean it's not for sale, right? So I said, we're going to create an award called the Dig Deep Award, and I'm going to give it away at the first sales meeting in January to the agent who I think is digging deep, finding the listings. And I gave it away, and I said to that agent, I said, now what you have to do is pay attention to the team, and I need you to give this award to the agent who you think is digging deep. And we did 256 million that year, more than we have ever done with just about 40 agents. So more than we'd ever done simply by changing the mindset of the team and not allowing them to think one way and encouraging them to think the other way. And it made a huge difference in our business. I mean, was a record year for us.
That's perfect. That's a beautiful story. But what you did was you put a fire under their butt, and you have to see. It's always a choice. I walk out. It's a choice. Do I want to lay around and do nothing, or do I want to do something that's going to be? And believe me, when I relax, I scuba dive. When I relax, I go to some place where nobody can talk to me. If they try, they drown.
Incommunicado. I used to have a sailboat and it was great because it sat this high off the water and I couldn't bring a cell phone, Yeah, we satisfy ourselves with good intentions, don't we?
Yeah. And the road to hell is filled with good intentions.
Absolutely.
You have to act on those intentions. And all I say is this, don't make ginormous goals that there's no way you'll reach. John Wooden, if you ever read his books on leadership, he was the coach of UCLA when they won 12 national championships. He said, I can coach pretty much anything except for height. And that made so much sense to me. If somebody is not meant for real estate, I think you're doing them a favor by telling them you're not meant for real estate. Let's see where else we can go with that. I guess it's Good to Great. You ever read the book Good to Great?
Oh yeah, definitely. Great one. Mm-hmm.
Get them on the right seat in the bus. This person can't be a realtor. Maybe they could be on a team as an assistant or something like that. And they're happy doing the background work. That works. In probate, I suggest have somebody that's going to work probate with you, an assistant or an administrative person, so that they can get all the forms. I have a work wife. She's been with me 23 years. She was a young gal when she started with me. She's now a partner because I figured if I make her a partner in Buddy West seminars, I don't ever have to worry about losing her.
Right.
And she'll do
Great
anything.
idea.
She'll do anything she can to make me successful because nobody has an ugly baby. This is part of her baby now.
That's right. And she probably helped you launch and scale that in ways that you hadn't thought of. So she probably
Amazing,
deserves a
amazing.
certain, to be honored for her work in helping it be successful. So I love that about you, buddy. That's fantastic.
Her daughter now works for me. She's going in her junior year at James Madison University as a physician's assistant. And I said, listen, here's what I'll do. Every time one of these things sell, I told you I make like not too much money on those goofy things, but I'll give you $10.
Hmm.
So she puts out all the marketing flyers. She sends the certificates. She like yesterday we had 130, I forget how many, a little less than 120. And then I had a bunch from the Florida Association I just came from. We send them to her. She puts them up on a website and sends it out because probate, this is an interesting concept, like SRES. I have a referral network. So if you take probate, right, and I'm creating this database. It's not quite done yet. Everybody who took probate is going to be on that database. So if you're sitting where you're sitting and you know somebody, it's a friend that has somebody in California that's going to go through probate, you can send that referral there. You can get the agent that's a probate specialist there. I take nothing. I take nothing.
Really?
You work out that deal. I don't need it. And also with the probate class, when you take the class, it's yours forever. You don't pay an annual fee, or I'm tired of everybody having their hand in my pocket. And
Yeah.
I added something else too. What I've added on is if you take and you're certified in probate, in a couple of years you want a refresher course, you get one free. You can sit in on a second one. My goal is to make you better. And your agent's goals when they get the certification is to help others get better, because otherwise you got to do both sides all the time.
Right.
Everybody says, don't do another class in our area. Why? Come from abundance. There's going to be 50 million houses in probate. Jiminy Christmas.
Right. Absolutely. So let's say this: if there was, is there before we go, is there anything that I haven't asked before we end our conversation today?
Well, there's a lot of stuff, but I think the most important thing, and again, thank you for having me here. The most important thing is you got to love what you do.
Yeah.
I get notes and letters. I've gotten probably 20 of them on the phone from yesterday's class. You just changed my career path. That means more to me. I've already done all the junk with all the bunch of houses and on. And I loved it. I mean, I've always been successful, but it's never been more heartfelt than I have now. So if you love doing real estate, which many of us do, I still doing it because I'm solving problems. It makes you happy. If you don't love doing it, find something you love, because you only get one shot at this life.
Right.
That's it. And I think it's important. And if you're going to get in real estate, education is the best thing you can do. Get all that. I mean, just soak it in like a sponge, because if you do, you're ahead of about 90% of the people that have a real estate license.
No doubt about that. And the thing I like about you the most, buddy, is that you're a true gentleman and a scholar. And I mean that because when you say something to somebody, when you're just a salesman, right? But if you hand them something, if you hand them materials like books and classes and certification courses, you truly are a scholar. And so we're so fortunate to be able to have met you and to have bring you to Branson area. We're going to be putting this out to everybody, all in 3 states. We're talking to people in Kansas, Missouri, Arkansas. We're going to try to bring as many people as we can. Of course, you know how people are. They don't always know what this is or why this is, but we're relentless. We're putting out messaging every day because we want to try to get as many people in the room with you, sir. And we're going to be fortunate to be there with you and looking forward to meeting you in person here in October.
And I'll leave you with this. If somebody takes the class and they think they haven't gotten anything that's going to take them to the next level, I'll pay their tuition.
How about that? A true
All right.
gentleman.
Alrighty.
That's great.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Thanks, buddy. Well, a big thank you for listening to the end of our podcast. I know your time is valuable, And I hope you got a few takeaways that are going to help you get a greater return on that time. I know you will. And if you did enjoy it, I'd sure appreciate a share or a comment. Feel free to subscribe for instant access to new episodes and offers. There's also a ton of free content and ways to learn more and engage more at WorleyRealEstateNetwork.com. Until then, we'll continue to bring you recipes for success and real stories from real people who, like you, are living out your divine purpose. And hey, God loves you. No matter what happens, don't give up.